Hello and welcome to the Peaceful Empowerment Work Show. We are live on WGSN-DB, goingboldmedia.com. I am your co-host, Judy Forder, and I am here with my co-host in peace, Miss
Kris Burke. Hi, everybody.
Hey, everybody. Before we get started, please, if you like the content that we are putting out there and would like to help us share it with the masses, like, comment, share, and subscribe to our channel. To this, whatever it is we're doing here.
Yeah. And we'd love to hear where you are in the world, where you're listening in from, just to know, where we're energetically connecting with our soul sisters and brothers out there, where you're inhabiting the earth.
Yes, we would love that.
Mhm.
Whether you're watching live or watching the rebroadcast,
Mhm.
that would be really cool to know.
Mhm.
So today's topic: finding what works for you and your current life. Yeah, we've been talking a lot about what works, what doesn't work, and I know with the clients I've been working with recently and within my own life, we talk about what's not working, let's get rid of it, blah, 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 blah. Well, you know what? We've been asking to get rid of what doesn't work, and it's happening. And people are starting to freak out, like, what is happening with me? Because they're finding themselves very sad and crying and angry and frustrated and all these things that might not be making a lot of sense to them.
Mhm.
Feeling emotions and having issues being triggered by things that haven't triggered them in a long time.
Right.
And what I've come to realize is, we asked to clear from our physical body and our etheric bodies what hasn't been working for us. Well, that clearing process isn't all unicorns and rainbows.
Absolutely.
In order to clear it, we have to feel it. We don't necessarily have to unpack it. We don't have to dig through it. We don't have to know everything about it. We just
I'm
have
on
to
the
allow
show.
emotions. We have to allow our emotions to flow, honor and respect them, and trust that if there's something more we need to know about it, that we're gonna know. The signs will be there. We'll be told.
Yeah, absolutely. And we've talked a lot about our zone 1 and zone 2 energies, right? Those zone 1, fear-based, shame, guilt, grief. Thank you very much, Cece. Shame, guilt, apathy, grief, right?
Mhm.
Fear, desire and craving, anger, hate, pride, all of that stuff is part of what's attracting those emotions within us, those patterns within us are part of how we are attracting to us these situations and experiences we don't want, right? So by releasing that energy, as Judy is saying, that zone 1 and zone 2 energy from your physical and etheric body, you are leaving basically your zone 3 and zone 4 emotions to attract to you things that you do want.
Yes. Yes. And that's, we've been doing the work to find what works for us.
Hmm.
And if you all have been watching the show, you've been doing that work too. And so we thought what we would do today is pick something that's working in your life. And then we're going to take it through the process because that's what we
Hmm.
do. And then we're going to have you pick something that is not working in your life right now and take you through the process.
Yeah.
And then allow you to experience the difference in how it feels in your body when you're talking about things that are working versus things that aren't working,
Hmm.
and where you would like that focus to go moving forward. Because the big thing that I'm realizing, and again, I laugh at myself because I've said these words to myself, I've said them to my clients, I've spoken them on shows, and where we focus our energy, that is the experience we're telling the universe we want to have. So if I'm focusing on the fear of something happening, I'm asking the universe to give me exactly what it is I'm fearing.
Yes.
When I focus on how much better can it get? Show me how much better it can get. Well, I'll be damned. They show me.
Yeah.
My life has just been getting better and better and better and better. And even the hard isn't as hard. So, when moving forward, and of course the end of the year, this is a great time for us to get in forward of our mind. Okay, this is what's working for me, and this is where I want to continue to focus.
Yeah, absolutely. And when you said even the hard isn't hard, it's so important. That sounds impossible, right? When
Hmm.
we're having a hard time, like how could this not be hard? And the reality is right here on the map. Thank you. My husband made me tea. Thank you. Um, and the reality is right here on the map that when you're carrying that zone 1 energy and you're having a hard experience, you're trying to navigate it with this heaviness, with that instinctual brain, which is just, it's fight or flight. It's
Yeah.
everything's okay or everything's not okay. It's black and white.
Yeah.
So when we get triggered and we see a problem from that perspective, all we can see is the problem. We can't see a way out because it's not a problem solver. It's
Mm-mm.
a problem identifier. It says, it starts yelling fire, right? I mean, that's what it does. And we go into fight, flight, or freeze mode. And when you're in fight, flight, or freeze mode, you don't have the capacity to handle things in a thoughtful, in a beneficial way, right? We
Mhm.
just get stuck because all we know to do is what we've always done. Um, when we're in that mode. So
Yeah.
it's when we can focus on getting into that zone 3 mode, into that awareness, then all of a sudden we can look at the situation and say, "Oh, what's going on here?"
Yes. And I know we've talked about this before. It's being able I know that I still experience zone 1, zone 2 things, but it's from a zone 3.
Hmm.
So the view is different.
Right.
Perfect example this weekend, my girlfriend's moving in and there's a lot of work to be done, and we had exhausted ourselves, my brother and I, and my daughter, moving all this heavy stuff into the house, and the couch got stuck, and this happened and that happened. Just I was exhausted. And you put the dog out, and it's a puggle. If anybody out there has puggles, she just howls and barks and barks, and she's relentless. And we're trying to get things done so we can bring the animals in, and she wouldn't stop. And instead of me not focusing, I mean, she was outside. I could have just simply shifted my focus to not hearing the barking. But because I was tired, and I decided I was going to go out there and yell at her and make her be quiet. I throw open the sliding glass door, not knowing that someone had pulled the screen across, and go busting through the screen. So I'm already enraged. I bust through the screen and blah, 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 blah. And I yell at the dog. Meanwhile, little did I know the neighbors are having a party. So they're like, who the hell's that lunatic that lives next door?
Yeah.
And I go back inside. And of course, 5 seconds later, the dog's barking again. But, where that would have set me off for the entire night,
Hmm.
I would have just been furious. I would have been just one loop, one consistent loop of anger and frustration. And, ugh, within the hour, I could laugh at myself.
Hmm.
I could laugh at the fact that I totally lost my shit. And I didn't try to defend it. In the past, I would try to defend it. I would
Hmm.
try to make all the excuses in the world for me being angry, but I didn't. And, because if you've been watching the show, you know that I had anger issues before I started all this. I was a very eruptive person, and it didn't take much to set me off.
Mm.
So to see that side of me come back and be able to laugh at it was
Right.
huge,
Yes.
huge. Because I was able to get to that, I saw it from that zone 3.
Right.
So it allows the processing to happen. It allows it to all it's like an accelerated pace. Everything happens at an accelerated pace.
Yeah, absolutely. Because you're not identifying with it. So
Mm-mm.
you're not saying, I'm bad or I was wrong or trying to deny that you were bad or wrong. You're just saying I was in this energy and I acted it out,
Yep.
right? Because I'm human.
Hmm.
And we can, we can choose to acknowledge that we're human and we can say, okay, well, so what's going on with me? Ask the questions, process it out, right? Or we can go into denial or all of those fight or flight situations and say, it wasn't me, it was the dog's fault. It was whoever closed the screen door's fault. It was, start blaming other people and not take responsibility for the fact that, yeah, I went in that energy and I acted it right out. Um, which
Yeah.
is, yeah.
And I have to
And
tell you that because of what happened to you 2 weeks ago, you were scammed because you were tired.
yep.
I was able to go to that place because of what you experienced a couple weeks ago. I was like,
Mm,
"Ah, that's right. I'm tired. This is what
mhm,
happened." And I was able to give myself grace and laugh at myself.
yeah.
Nobody got hurt. The
Right.
neighbors might think I'm crazy, whatever.
Right. Right.
But yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
I
that
think
was
that's why we do group. I'm sure that's why we love group coaching and also doing this show
mhm.
because we can learn from one another. Most of the time we're all so busy trying to hide the things about ourselves that we think are unacceptable that, first of all, we don't realize we all have them. So, really, what's the point of hiding that? And second of all, if we feel like I'm the only one that has these terrible flaws and I have to hide them from everybody, I spend my time doing that instead of spending time with the qualities and characteristics in myself and other people that are fantastic.
Mhm.
Right. So we try to hide these parts from ourselves and it makes it so we never connect with other people and we can't learn from one another.
Right.
So now the next time you guys go busting through a screen door, you can laugh at yourself that much faster and say, oh, yeah, Judy did that. This is a thing that happens when we get overtired, when we get frustrated, when we've taken on more for the day than we energetically um, maybe could endure,
Mhm.
right? And that's what tired is. We get worn down, like we give out more energy than we take in. We
Mhm.
get tired, and when we get to that depletion level, we can't maintain our presence in the same way,
No,
enough to keep us calm. Yeah.
nope, we shouldn't be operating heavy machinery. We should.
Or answering the phone in my case, right? All I did was answer the phone. Yeah, and
Yeah.
people don't know about that. I answered the phone and got scammed. I mean, somebody talked me into giving them my username and password to my bank, and everybody out there who's like, "Oh my god, what an idiot!" Yeah, I mean, it was unbelievable.
Mhm.
Um, and I did it. It took them quite a long time to get me to do it, and I knew not to. And
Mhm.
my intuition was like, "Don't do it," right? But I was tired, and I just wanted to get off the phone with the dude who claimed to be from my bank. So
Yeah. I was gonna say a zone 3, zone 4 Chris would have hung up in the first 2 minutes.
yeah, yeah. In fact, he texted me the other day. I'm sure it was him, and said,
No.
This is Charles Schwab, and there's a transaction, and we're going to call you about it in a few minutes." That's not, not what they. Oh, I just put my bank out there. Actually, they've been fantastic, right? They have. Um, but I I knew it wasn't the bank
Mhm.
because of what had just happened, and so I wrote back, "Oh, good." That's that's zone 3, zone 4, Chris. Like, bring it on.
Oh, good.
Yes, please. Let's chat, shall we?
I can't wait.
My password. I had
Ever
all
call.
kinds of creative ideas for my password.
Did they call or no?
Several times actually, and I answered the phone the first time and I said hello, and there was nobody there, and then I thought they might be trying to record my voice
Mm.
because we have voice identity now, which I've had several conversations uh, with the people at my bank over the years who are like, "Oh, you need to do voice recognition because it's so much safer." And I said, "Well, what would keep somebody from recording my voice and then using that to get past this foolproof system. Oh, nobody would do that. And I said, well, I'm going to stick with the old fashioned approach. If you don't
No, nobody would do that. Hey.
Our technology is very sophisticated. The problem is, so is theirs.
Exactly.
That's the thing, is we can't out tech one another. It's a nice try. So so I didn't actually opt in for voice recognition, but they didn't know that.
Mm.
Wow, we're down a rabbit hole. It's pretty interesting.
We did. We went down there rather quickly.
Yes. Okay. All right. Out of the rabbit hole.
Exactly. Come back out. That
Hmm.
obviously didn't work for you.
It did not.
I mean, oddly enough, it's the perfect example of you're like, no, that doesn't work for me. I'm
Yeah.
gonna, they make it sound like you have to etch it on tablets, stone tablets. I'm gonna stick with what's safe. I'm gonna etch it in my stone tablet here.
Right. 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 And it's interesting you say that too, the safe thing, because I'm not afraid of this happening now.
Mm-mm.
Right? It's just like, "Oh, yeah, this is a thing that happens in life." I didn't call everybody I know and tell them it happened. I didn't post it on Facebook, okay? I shared it with you guys, but, it was 10 minutes after I got off the phone with the bank, so it was fresh.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so there's something about realizing that we have a choice when things happen, that we can either say, write ourselves a script, write ourselves a story about how we just got done wrong and tell everybody, share our story, like get some sympathy, get some attention, which, the zone one part of us really likes.
Mm-hmm.
Or we can say, okay, well, what I learned from that? Yep, not to do it again, right? There's a clip in a movie that Burn After Reading that one of my clients sends to me periodically, where the two of them at the end of the movie are saying, "Well, what did we learn from that? Not to do it again, I guess." Right?
Well, all right.
Yeah. So whenever some crisis happens at work, he'll send that clip, um, which is kind of funny because they never really figured out what happened in the movie. They just knew not to do it again.
Just don't do it again.
Just don't do it again. So it's that same kind of, like, we can bring humor, right? We can bring a lightheartedness to it, and we can say, "Okay, wow, I got scammed. So, note to self, don't do that again."
Mm-hmm.
And then we can move on.
Yeah. Yeah. Move on without the whippings and the beatings. And, because when I started this journey, if I erupted like I did on Saturday, I would then spend the next 2 weeks beating myself up.
Right. Right.
So when you're seeing things from a zone three, the beatings don't happen,
Right.
you know.
Absolutely. And when you're in the zone 1 energy or the zone 2 energy, whatever it is, and you have these um you create these scenarios and then you prolong them by talking about them a lot. Remember, we're keeping it in our focus.
Mm-hmm.
That's how we keep the hard things, the things that aren't working, we keep them in our focus and we invite things that resonate with that back into our lives.
Mm-hmm.
So I know a lot of people who will share their um, the drama that's happening in their lives, on Facebook or, wherever people share things. And, a little part of me always cringes a little because I think, oh, you really you want to be using the fire extinguisher on that. You don't want to be putting the sun on it for everybody to see because it flames it up. It makes it bigger and then it invites more crises into our lives.
Yeah. I mean, you're literally telling the universe that I want more of this, please.
Right. This is where I want to put my attention. This is what I want to experience. And of
Mhm.
course, you don't mean to be doing it. I mean, we all do it. We've all done it.
Mhm.
So it's not a criticism. It's just a reality. What you're focusing on, just like Judy said in the beginning, what you're focusing on is what you're asking for.
Mhm. Yeah. So, when finding what works for you in your current life, moving forward, this is what we want you to really think about. Where is your focus the majority of the day? Is it focused on all of the things in your life that aren't working? Are you able to focus on the one or two things that are?
Yeah.
We're not saying ignore, brush aside, turn a blind eye to those things that aren't working. But when you start to focus on the few things that are, then things that are working that list starts getting longer and
Mhm.
longer and longer.
Yeah.
And quite honestly, I got to the point where, all right, well, I've done this for all these years and that hasn't turned out so great. So why not give this a try?
Yeah.
What if? What if I do start focusing on the one or two things that are working in my life?
Right.
Why not try?
Mhm. Why not be grateful for the things that are wonderful?
Hmm.
And I know a lot of people struggle with that. I remember struggling with that. Like, what do I have to be grateful for? Right. I'm focused on this one thing that's not working. And you want me to like take my attention off from that, which is already hard enough because it requires me to use a different part of my mind, a different zone in my being, right? To focus on something, look for something positive in my life, and then be grateful for it. And there were times when I'd be like, what do I have to be grateful for? And now it's just like, oh my goodness. How about your health? I
Hmm.
mean, I don't care how unhealthy we are today, it could be worse.
Hmm.
It'd be pretty easy to find people who are in a worse situation. Let's not focus on that. But, you know, what I'm saying, like, if you have a roof over your head, you got air moving through your lungs, you've got, a satisfied belly, you've got people that you care about and people who care about you, or the capacity for that, the desire for it. Let's say you don't have people who care about you, you have the desire for it, go find them.
Hmm.
That's an option for you. You set your intention on that, that will become part of your life. We have so much to be grateful for. It's just that a lot of the gifts that we have, we're putting on the shelf and saying, that's of no use to me. I'm over here focusing on what's not working.
Hmm. Yeah, and when you were saying, focus on the gratitude, I could hear people say, if because I myself, if I'm focusing on what I'm grateful for, well, how am I going to fix what's not working?
Ah, precisely. And the best thing we can do is to stop trying to fix what's not working,
Hmm.
right? Because the reason it's not working is because we have an idea of what ought to be happening that's different from the universe's idea of what ought to be happening. And if
Yes.
we decided to let the universe drive because it has access to more information than we do, we can make choices.
Mhm.
Um, but ultimately, we have to let people be who they are, and we have to let the universe work the way it does. We cannot actually stand in opposition to the universe and have a lovely day.
No, and we talked about this way early on. We have choices. We have not making a choice is a choice.
Yes.
And we can choose to learn our lessons under fire, or we can learn our lessons with ease and grace. Intuition always wants us to learn with ease and grace.
Yeah.
Zone one, zone two, fire.
Mhm.
So that thinking that we have to be the one that fixes, thinking that we have enough information, all of the information so that we can fix this in that zone two, you're choosing fire over and over and over and over and over again.
Yes.
And, Kris has this perfect, she was realizing in her life that she kept putting her hand on the hot stove.
Right.
I don't want to put my hand on the hot stove anymore.
Yeah.
So, people talk a lot about surrender, surrender, surrender. I prefer trust.
Hmm.
Trust that you're going to be, there is a divine plan.
Hmm.
And if you can get to the point where you understand you don't have all the answers and you're not supposed to,
Right.
you're not supposed to have all the answers.
That's part of the plan.
Exactly.
Yeah. Uh-huh. But we are guided. I mean, and that's something I always want to reiterate is that we are guided and we're not asking anybody to take our word for that because that would never work.
No.
Right? You have to experience that guidance for yourself. You have to listen to the intuitive nudge. You have to be open to it. You need to set an intention for you want to approach things differently. You want to have different experiences. You want to be enlightened. It could be enlightened about what's going on in this relationship that's causing you both pain,
Mhm.
right? Or could be enlightened about what's not working in your job, or is this the right career path for me? There are lots of different ways to be enlightened. It doesn't just have to be, angels singing in heaven, although that is a lovely way to go as well.
Mhm.
Um, but to, allow me to see the truth of this situation without the layers of fear, without the layers of past experiences and trauma and pain and, struggling and self-protection and all of that. Let me just see the truth of what's in this moment and recognize the gifts in it
Hmm.
so that I can align myself with it. And I was laughing. I almost laughed out loud. And I know I don't hold myself back, but Judy was saying something really important. So I didn't want to laugh over it. But there was this burst of laughter going on inside of me about standing in opposition when I said, you cannot stand in opposition to the entire universe and have a great day. I said that because I know that from past experience. I have been standing in opposition, not so much to the universe, but to the cultural norms that I just, was like, that sucks. I mean, that prescription for this is what you do, go to school, pay your way through college, get a good job, work all the time, drink on the weekends to escape from it, buy a house, get into debt, raise kids, get into more debt, and then, keep working until you get sick and can't work anymore and then, die. I mean, that was kind of that is a path that people in my family, a lot of people in my family took.
Hmm.
And not just my family, but people in my community. And so I saw people taking that path, and I stood in absolute opposition to that. But what I didn't realize is that I was standing in opposition, not opposition to just the cultural norms, but I was standing in opposition to everything that was trying to happen because I didn't realize that there was something outside of those cultural norms, a universe, something bigger, a higher level, right? Zones 3 and 4. I didn't realize that I wanted to be standing with those flows in opposition to the zone 1 and zone 2.
Hmm.
And I wouldn't even use the words opposition now, just not, you don't have to buy into the zone 1 and zone 2 narratives because they don't have to apply to you,
Hmm.
right? Standing in opposition to anything is actually energizing the very thing that you're trying to get away from.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, I just, that's complete mind fuckery right there for
It,
people,
yeah,
because all the conditioning, all the programming that we have received is all about zone 1, zone 2,
yeah.
you know?
Yes. Most of the people who we know who hated that their parents did something, maybe their parents drank or their parents, yelled or whatever the thing is, you watch 99% of them are doing the same thing,
Hmm.
right? Because the thing that we focused on, that we hated, that we found completely unacceptable is in our unconscious as a beacon that's saying, bring me that experience because
Hmm.
I'm really focused on it. That's what I want. The universe doesn't differentiate between a focus that says I want and a focus that says I don't want. It simply reads the focus. Oh, you're focused on drinking? Great. Here you go. Here's the
Yeah.
scenario where you can find out what it's like to have that experience and maybe walk in somebody else's shoes and be a little less judgmental.
Hmm. Because the universe doesn't work in words. It works in energy,
Mm, mhm.
frequency and
And
vibration.
pictures and
Yep.
pictures.
Hmm.
Yeah, the images that you hold in your mind are very powerful ways of making requests to the universe.
Vision boards. That's why there's that big kick on vision boards. If you,
Yes,
yeah,
yes,
if you can see it, it can happen. You know,
absolutely.
about aligning. I know we talked last week about aligning your energy with the vibration of the things that you want.
Hmm.
That's why, we go through the process, think, feel, do with something that is working in your life, and then do the same thing with something that isn't working in your life. You get to feel the difference in vibration. And remember that
Yeah,
words carry vibration.
yeah.
So when we focus on all the things that aren't working, go versus, hey, this is pretty fucking awesome. I would like some
Hmm.
more, please.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
they're telling the universe, align with this vibration. You just have to determine which one you want.
Absolutely. And I'm just getting the reminder of it's helpful to think of it as being like a radio station, or it could be helpful to think of these four zones as being layered, and you're pushing the elevator button to choose which which floor to get on. Ooh, a comment. Go ahead,
Hello,
Judy. You can have.
hello,
You can have.
Wendy. When you put the prescribed life path like that, it really doesn't sound good. It's crazy. Yes, it can
Yes.
be easy making.
It's actually funny, Wendy. I really appreciate you saying that,
Mhm.
because a lot of times I've been saying that for a lot of years. Like, I remember somebody very close to me saying, "Why don't you just settle down and marry, somebody?" I had a couple of divorces under my belt before this husband. Why don't you just settle down and marry one guy and get a job with a good pension? And I shrieked at this person because I would rather die, right? And it was actually true, which made people really upset because I kept saying, the emperor has no clothes. This life path is ridiculous. I mean, what you have to look forward to is being penniless and sick and dead. I can't get worked up about that. I can't find the energy to put into doing that, right? So a lot of what's happening, a lot of the drinking, the addictions we talk about, workaholism, which, I still flirt with that. A lot of these things are our way of ignoring the fact that the life path that we've been sold is kind of,
Bullshit.
um, yeah, crazy.
Mhm.
Yeah, nobody wants zone one or zone two. I mean, given the choice, given the scan out, pan out, whatever you want to call it, if you know you have a choice between life in zone one, two, or one, two, three, or four, every human is going to choose three and four. If they actually could, okay, push a button and just didn't have to put the work in, everybody would choose three and four. But
Mhm.
we've been sold one and two is all there is. And in
Yes,
order to reprogram ourselves to open up to the reality that zone three and four are present and they're just a better deal all the way around, um, that takes effort. That takes work.
it does. It takes work. And the funny thing I keep hearing over and over again is intuition is present in zone 2.
Yeah.
We call it gut feeling, mother's instinct, all those things. If you've ever been given information you don't know where it comes from, you're like, "Oh, it just came to me." Or turn left when you usually turn right and then there was an accident.
Hmm.
All these things that have happened, because they happen.
Hmm.
Everyone has intuition. It's a
Hmm.
muscle that when you exercise it, it expands. Your intuition gets stronger, but it's there. You know, um, I'm hearing it can occasionally show itself in instinct. Well, instinct is very much about survival.
Right.
Intuition, they're like, no, if you really take a look at your life, you will be able to reflect back and see where intuition, whether you call it gut instinct, mother's instinct, father's instincts, whatever, that's all your intuition. It's been there. It's been
Hmm.
weaving its way through your life in many different ways
Yeah.
because, you know, the divine plan is always there. And when you're in zone 2, you'll have in trying to figure everything out, you're looking at options.
Hmm.
Well, sometimes you're guided one way versus another. You don't really know why, but you go with it. All right, I'm feeling like this is the best option. That's your intuition.
Right. Right. And intuition tends to come on in the shower, right?
Yes, I call them shower epiphanies.
Yes. So many people, right? You can't remember where you put something. You can't think of somebody's name. You can't, whatever it is. And you're like, oh, it'll come to me. How
Mhm.
often are you in the shower? We call it chopping wood, carrying water, because your head is focused on the task at hand, right? You're shampooing, you're going through your steps. And, lo and behold, there's a little space where intuition could be like, you left it behind the washing machine,
Yep.
right? And you're like, oh my God, yeah. I mean, where? So to be in zone 3 is very much to be in that place of where there's quiet, where there's space for intuition to come forward if it has something to say and it's not a chatterbox.
Mm-mm. No. Zone 3 is where you start, again, that's where you start getting curious. You start asking the questions.
Yeah,
Zone 2 is like, okay, it'll come to me, it'll come to me. Zone 3, you actually ask, okay, I misplaced my keys, help me find them.
right,
Where did I put them? You
right.
start having that conversation with your higher self. You're curious.
Hmm.
You start to dig and figure out what this intuition is, and how I in the beginning it was like a game.
Hmm.
It was an energetic game for me, which made it fun.
Hmm.
And when it's fun, your vibration, when you're having a good time and enjoying things, your vibration's higher.
Yeah,
And when you play,
yeah.
in zone 1 and zone 2, there's not a whole lot of playing.
No, no, there isn't. I mean, actually, you open up to the wonder of it all.
Hmm.
Right? So there are a lot of traditions where they talk about, and a lot of religions, philosophies, where they talk about the child, be childlike,
Hmm.
right? In order to reconnect with your inner self, with the heaven above or the heaven within, right? You reconnect by that, a reawakening to the wonder of it all. Stop thinking that everything that we learned about ourselves and the world is everything there is, because it sure as heck is not.
No.
Right? And if you do a little exploration, you very quickly find out it couldn't be
Yeah.
for so many reasons. But, zone 2 is a chatterbox. So zone 2 will just blah, 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 blah all day, and it will say the same things over and over so often that you will think it must be true, because certainly it wouldn't say it that often if it weren't. Right? It just talks to hear itself talk, to fill noise, to fill space,
Hmm.
because the minute it stops talking, the higher presence makes itself known.
You can
And
hear.
it Mhm.
Sorry about that.
No, no.
I always say ego yells, soul whispers.
Yes.
So it's in the pause, it's in being present. It's when you allow yourself the grace of silence,
Mhm.
and it means that there can be chaos going on in a room. Like Kris and I have said before, if you can bring yourself present, that allows peace.
And yeah, Judy and I both have this incredible painting, right? The little girl. I wish I could remember the artist right now. He's so talented. Do you remember?
I don't remember.
We'll look it up for next time.
Yep.
Um, yeah, the Prince of Unmoved, the little girl just sitting there in meditation on a rock with the wolves. The sun is behind her. Your spirit has your back. The
Always.
universe has your back always. There is total peace available to you. And you can choose that. And here all the wolves are, and they're all around her and they're barking. And she's sitting there. And because she's sitting there and choosing the peace, the wolves are powerless, right? It's a
Yeah.
real thing when you choose peace. And every time we decide to choose the drama and we decide to pump that up and, parade it around, we've chosen the wolves.
Hmm. Yes. And yeah. The getting present. I mean, you can calm when you calm yourself, it opens up the door to calm the energy of the room.
Yeah.
And it'd be interesting to during this holiday season when you're getting together with friends and family, it'd be
Eat.
interesting for you to exercise that muscle
Yeah.
and just sit and get present with yourself and see what happens to the other people in the room. It's pretty amazing.
Yes. Yeah. And a fun game we may have mentioned last time too, is to kind of retrain ourselves, because the zone 1 and zone 2 thoughts and feelings and actions will happen automatically unless we put some effort into redirecting them, because it's habit.
Hmm.
Just because it's habit, it actually doesn't take that long to overwrite them, but it does take some effort. And so one of the first things I like to do is to look for something that you really like in somebody.
Hmm.
Right? You might pick something to like about what they're wearing. or you might find something you like about their personality. You can play that game because it puts you in that vibration. It supports the energy of peace and grace and compassion.
My smart ass just said, I like the way she leaves early.
See? And this is the thing, because it also brings to our awareness that we may be in the habit of thinking not nice things about people,
Hmm.
right? And it doesn't matter if you have reasons to or you don't have reasons to, irrelevant. If you're choosing to think not nice things, you're the one carrying that energy and you're the one asking the universe for not nice things to be delivered to you.
Yes. Yes. I always, I like to talk about and remind myself that people can only show up in your life the way you allow them.
That's
So
right.
you're holding on to, those emotions because they did you dirty. And, this is still stuff that I work through. Um, yeah, a lot. They did me dirty, blah, 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 blah. Forgiveness, yeah, whatever. I'm not ready to forgive. One of my favorite songs by the Dixie Chicks is, I'm not ready to make nice. I'm not ready to
Right.
back down because there are parts of me that I'm still working on. And there are
Hmm.
some people out there that burned my ass. And
Hmm.
I'm not ready to make nice yet, but I also have an understanding now that if they're being mean or disrespectful or rude to me, it's because that's the energy I carry with them.
That's
And
right.
that's on me.
That's right. Yeah. And this is interesting. Imagine that you're in you're carrying some energy that's um, resentful,
Hmm.
right? Well, your higher self is trying to make you aware of that so that you can bring it to the surface and let it go, right? So you can choose to let that go, because as long as you're carrying this resentful energy, it's almost like, imagine a video game where it's like, okay, she needs some reason to be resentful,
Hmm.
right? And they're tapping people in your immediate environment on the head in giving them the energy that will cause them to come and create a resentful situation, to do
Hmm.
something to you or to say something to you that will bring that resentment up,
Yep.
right? This is how we interact with one another. We're interacting energetically on so many levels. And we think there's this surface dialogue and that's all there is, or body language is the whole thing. No, no, no. There's so much going on energetically for reasons that we don't understand. But what we can know is that if you're at total peace and somebody comes up to you and they're not in total peace, it doesn't affect you,
Mm-mm.
right? The energy has to be the energy of resentment or of annoyance or whatever it is, has to be in you in order for you to react that way.
Yeah. In order for you, yeah, react yeah. That was like, yes. In
Yeah,
order for you to react and receive it in that manner, you have to be in that energy. If you're
right.
sitting in peace, one of my favorite things with Kris is, she'll be like, "Oh, well, isn't that interesting?" Or, "Oh, doesn't feel true." Or when you're in that space of peace, it's that easy. It just kind of rolls off of you like water on a duck. And
Yeah.
isn't that interesting that that's their behavior?
Yes. Yeah. Well, and it is, right? Because I'll think, I wonder what's going on there.
Exactly. They must be going through something.
Hmm.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, but it's so clear to you that it's not you. If you're,
Mhm.
because you're not triggered by it. You don't get emotionally embroiled by it. So you see people acting out what they're acting out, and you actually are able to say, "How do I stay with integrity with myself through this?"
Mhm.
Which is an important thing. Yeah, and I think we're ready to end. We don't have to go through the whole thing. We usually do,
Nope. We
because
are
I
the
see
People
what
at Work show.
we are.
And you can find us at masterfulu.com. www.masterfulu.com.
Thanks for being here, everybody. Thank you,
Yes,
Judy.
thanks for